before we get started with today's podcast, we wanted to take some time out to just give a quick disclaimer. Gonna be some times in this podcast where it sounds like we don't love this movie, like we don't love DC, but we love DC. We are not favoring Marvel or Fox's studio efforts over DC's. That's not true. We expect a lot from DC, and therefore we don't want to spend an hour talking with you guys about what you already know. You already know Wonder Woman is an amazing film. If you have not seen it, you need to go do that. You know, if you ain't seen this movie, then you ain't doing it to play away. So invest some time. You're going to be rewarded, and enjoy the show. Also, before we start the show, quick shout out to Ian Townsend in Dallas, Texas, a new writer for the Play Your Way Network. He's going to be writing movie, television, and WWE review type columns. So his first column was published earlier this week for the Box Office Hustle. So shouts out to Ian. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. Now, on with the show.
In a world where comics, movies, games, rumors, and Kardashians come at you 24/7, three champions will rise to defend you from wasting precious time, money, and emojis. BK, Nate, and Derek will show you how to do it. The Player Way.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, it is exciting to be back again with the Player Way podcast. Whoa! I'm here with one of my co-captains, Derek.
That's me, representing Dallas, and due to Nate's absence last week, I was able to corrupt the system uninterrupted.
And as Derek just hinted at, our other co-captain, Nate.
Straight out the fucking dungeons of rap.
Oh, whoa! He actually got more words for us. He came back with some soul. Some soul. See what I did there?
Fake people don't make it back.
That's exactly right, man. So tell us how Korea was, man.
Korea was good. I missed it. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things in Korea that I wish were sort of implemented here in the United States.
Like what?
For one, it's not a tipping society. You know, you go out to eat, you don't have to tip because they actually pay their servers. That's a welcome. Two, public transportation is so convenient.
Ugh,
the Seoul subway station is just massive. And on top of that, you put they have these cards which you load money up on, any sort of Metro card, but you can use it for bus, taxi, or subway.
Oh, they're all just, like, connected? That's really cool.
Yeah.
And makes perfect
so
sense.
Doesn't it?
Right, wow, God. Sometimes the most simple solution is the best one.
That, and we brushed up on this a little bit, but smart toilets.
Exactly. Tell us a little bit about now. How is it that America is first in so many awesome things, like in terms of lifestyle, and so many other countries are copying us in many ways that way? But like when it comes to the toilet thing, it seems like Asian cultures tend to be ahead of us on that aspect.
They've been pooping longer than us.
That is true. Asians have been around a lot longer than America has.
They got this down to a science, son.
They perfected it. The art of comfortable pooping dato.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Because not only is it, you have your options, like your bidet options, but the seats are all heated. So you're comfortable when you sit down, just from the get-go.
Like, I can't even imagine how awesome that is. That's how sad this is.
I already miss it. Today I took a shit like a goddamn caveman.
Like, what am I, some
like
sort of savage? Do I bury this now? What do I do?
Yeah, it was one of those
like
where I snapped to reality. I was like, God, this is my life again.
Just for reference, everybody, in case you don't know, Nate lives in L.A., so like, and he lives like in the city center too. So like, he's in a good part of the city. So it's definitely not the worst place to be in the world by any sort of stretch of the imagination. And yet he refers to it as if he's using an outhouse.
Yeah.
He
I'm
brings
like
a flashlight.
pilgrim.
Brings a flashlight to make sure there's no snakes in the shitter.
Walking a couple miles to it. You know?
Like Tom Hanks in Green Mile breaks down on the lawn. Fuck it, I'm peeing here, right here. This is where it's going down.
Well, speaking of going back in time, we actually went back in time as moviegoers for one princess of Themyscira. Did we not?
We did.
Yes.
We did.
So before we get into before we go any further, let's just get on right into the topic of today. We're talking about Wonder Woman, the film.
My weekend was fine.
We'll get to it. We'll get back to it. As well. Let's go ahead and get in with Wonder Woman. So Nate, when did you see? I think you saw Wonder Woman first because of the worldwide release, correct?
Yeah. Well, I saw it Thursday,
Okay.
which would have been Wednesday for you guys.
Us losers.
In the future.
This guy.
Yeah.
All right. We've all been looking forward to the first installment, DC Universe, this year. We got halfway point of the year. We got Justice League coming out later on in November. Gal Gadot taking on her role as Wonder Woman very seriously. Diana Prince and Nate definitely was the first one to see it out of all three of us. And he saw it back on Thursday. And we saw it on... later than that, but since this guy went into the future to see it, he's going to break it down for us first.
Do you guys just want me to tell you my high points of the movie? We're not going to run through the plot or anything, right? Just what I thought.
Yeah.
Nate, let's start with what your initial thoughts of the movie were.
Cool. I kept my expectations low due to sort of what the DCEU has put out past.
Understandable.
And I was very pleasantly surprised by a lot of it. The action, right from the get-go, the Amazons, awesome. It's almost like they took a page out of Zack Snyder's slow motion action. It was almost like 300-ish, but with Amazons.
Yes.
And that was cool. Claire Underwood did a fantastic job.
Yeah, she did.
I was sad to see her die so early.
Yeah, that was kind of
Yeah, right.
surprising that they went that direction with it, but I'm really glad that they allowed us to connect with the character finally. That's been a problem of a lot of DCEU movies, is that you don't care what happens to the people in the film, the characters. So I love that it was somebody we probably thought she was probably going to have to fight against later on in the series for control of Themyscira or something like that, and to kill her off so quickly, it was awesome. Not that we were happy that she died, but we were happy that there was some sort of pathos there.
It definitely.
I will say that
agree with that.
I was sort of kind of wary about Gal Gadot headlining like her own movie. You know, up until now, we've only seen her as a supporting character through the Fast and the Furious movies, and then, Batman versus Superman. But she did an awesome job. You know, she did that whole fish out of water perfectly.
Perfectly.
Yeah, Chris Pine was awesome too. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't expect him to be so good in this film. He's one of those forgettable actors these days. He just is. I mean, unfortunately for him, he really put all his eggs into that Star Trek Beyond basket, and that did not come up roses for him. So, really surprised, and to be reminding how good of an actor he actually is. I didn't really feel any major weaknesses in terms of acting. What did you think, Derek?
Acting wise, honestly, a lot of it, I don't know if you guys got this, but as I was watching it, a lot of it reminded me of a little bit of Inglourious Bastards. I was like, dang, Chris Pine could have been in that one too. You know what I mean? Like, this little, he hit that accent perfectly well. I mean, I felt for him as a soldier. I understood his backstory. I understood what he was working for, to, and from. They worked very well on screen together. Their chemistry was very believable, in my opinion. But
I like that you mentioned his backstory. I love that you mentioned his backstory, because one of the problems that we've had, and Nate talks about this a lot, especially with like Batman DCEU's had a big problem with feeling like they got to start all over fresh with every single character, and you got to know every little thing about every single character before you can get started with the movie. I love that Chris Pine character comes into the film just like we see him in the trailer. There's no setup scene or anything. It goes right into the in medias res to invoke an epic convention that Greek mythology does best. He just kind of comes into the dome, and, you know, the dome being Themyscira's protective shield. And it's like, oh, crap. Like, we're already, like, right into it with him. And then they kind of do a backstory with him later on when he's explaining through the lasso of truth.
Yeah. I felt that they did that perfectly well. Like, it was peppered in correctly. Like, we didn't need a 7-minute cutscene of him training to get into the army, getting into this division, working to become a spy, so on and so forth. We just knew immediately what was up. And as they should have peppered this in, because we know everything we need to know about this guy already. Here's a little bit more so you can appreciate him more and understand his character and what he's about, but let's go on with the movie. That was really well done. Same thing with Diana. She perfectly played the awkward teenager, brand new aerial, out of water girl perfectly well. Completely innocent, very confused about just the world's antics and just social behaviors, but she played it perfectly well, just like her about to drop trow in the middle of the dress shop, be like, all right, let me go ahead and get dressed. As much as I would have loved to have seen that scene, you know, just how she was like, I just can't get undressed right here. What do you mean? I don't need to walk around with a sword and a shield. Just, it wasn't annoying, but it was also accurate, because why would she have any reason not to think that? She walks around with half-naked warriors all day long. This makes sense for her to walk around with a sword and a shield. So for her to be immediately thrust in the early, 20th century London to be just so out of water. And she just played it so well. I just love how that was throughout the movie, how she learned and adapted almost immediately, but still questioned, why does this work? Things that you and I would take completely for granted, you know, because we're used to it, but, you know, the things she took for granted were completely different. I really like how that theme was kept all the way up until the end of the movie.
Absolutely, and I think that's hard to do. I'm really glad you brought up that point, because I too was very shocked that she was able, and by she we're talking about Gal Gadot, had this ability to play a character that she's already played very well, but play her younger without the aid of CGI, which there's no need for it, of course. But then also, like, there's this comfortability, there's this mysteriousness that she kind of that Gal Gadot plays as Diana Prince in the future in Batman vs Superman, that she does not have. She doesn't have that confidence throughout this film at all. Like, at no time when she's fighting anyone does she have that look like she has, like in Batman vs Superman, there's a scene where Doomsday slaps the shit out of her. And and like she just kind of bumps up against it. She's like, "Oh, I've had harder hits than this."
Yes,
like, she's got that 300
from other worlds before.
Exactly.
Yes. It was
she's
beautifully
like, "Oh, this
done."
ain't." It's like, "Y'all," she gave him that look like, "Oh, you hit like a bitch." And but in this one, when Ares knocks the crap out of her, like, it's like, "Oh, I can get hit." So, I mean, Nate, what did you think about that? As far as how she was able to play that?
I don't like that question. I mean, she did a good job, dude. You know, I will look. I'll instead of answering that question, I'll tell you probably the highest point of the movie for me.
All right, sounds good.
The No Man's Land.
Yes,
scene. Like,
that was pretty cool.
Right when she steps up the ladder, you know, this is what I will do. You know, beautiful fucking shots composed too. Like when she's got the shield and you see the bullets coming at her, and then throughout the whole thing, her inspiring Steve Trevor and his merry band of misfits to come and fight with her and stuff like that. That was a high point of the movie for me.
I agree that was a high point. There are parts of that scene I like a lot, and this is something that I'm going to say a lot about the rest of the film. This is where some of the scenes to me fell apart, and it had to do with probably Zack Snyder's influence. I could be wrong. He and his wife were both producers on this film, even though they were not the directors. I still believe that probably they had some influence on the final edit of the film. For example, if you look at the initial fight on Themyscira, beautifully shot. There was nothing about that scene, in my opinion, that was weak. In the No Man's Land scene, when she first walks out and you first see the full Wonder Woman regalia for the first time, that kind of felt very Star Wars Episode 1-ish to me. Like, all I saw was a huge green screen. When I saw her walk out of that ditch and she starts walking across, like, you can tell she's not walking on actual ground. Like, her way her arms kind of swing back and forth, it was kind of awkward looking. But when they did tighter shots, it was better. The wide shots didn't work so well. It's the tighter stuff, and when she finally gets into the action.
That's something I would agree with. However, that's also extremely technical as well. I feel like the average moviegoer isn't going to probably filter it down and dissect it as much. But to kind of circle around to what you had originally asked Nate, that he properly said that he wasn't going to answer, with regards to her fighting skills and her confidence. You touched on it perfectly, BK, because at any point she could have just been like, oh yeah, I can do this incredible act of strength or speed. Like when they lifted her up and did the shield thing and she pretty much just, cleared out the bell tower, she could have done that of her own accord, but the fact that she didn't know that she could was also adding to just the legend of her going through this. Now, circling back to the tighter shots, you're 100% correct. Clearly, she wasn't walking on uneven ground. Those type of things. When it was zoomed out, you're like, all right, I know that we're just rolling with the dolly over 30 feet of a Warner Brothers studio. We get it. However, the animation, the CGI, the tracers, and everything were incredible. Just watching her bounce off the shield, like her gleaves blocking it off, like that was it was visually stunning. I was very, very impressed with those type of things.
Yeah, I think what they got to work on, and let me be more specific. It wasn't just it wasn't just how it was shot. It's the tone of the scene. For example, my biggest quarrel with the movie as a whole, and just want to make sure we understand for something. DC finally has got one. Okay, they finally got one. This is good. I'm gonna say something. I'm not.
Is this
DC
the best
hating,
DC movie yet, BK? In your opinion?
Oh yeah. Oh, far and away. By far and away, the best DC film.
No comparison, right?
No comparison. No
All right.
comparison. No, not even. I mean, this is to me. This is Dark Knight. Close to Dark Knight good. Close, really close. And here's what makes it not so good. Okay, it goes back to what that scene is about. It's not so much that because the wide shot is what makes it look corny, but it's also the tone of the scene. It's like they're trying to sell you what to feel in that moment rather than giving it to you from the plot itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing like like what is it about her walking out there that is so triumphant? There shouldn't be anything yet. The triumphantness of that scene? For example, take that exact wide shot that we're talking about, where she walks out there. That should have been added toward the end of the scene after she's done all of the amazing shit. Like, don't do it at the very beginning of the scene when she hasn't proven herself yet, and we haven't shown her to be anything worthy of. It's like we're just supposed to feel awesome about her because we see the outfit for the first time.
So you feel like, in essence, we saw her with the trophy before she won the race.
We saw her in the full outfit in Batman versus Superman. That moment has already been gotten.
We already knew that she was the business.
You can't re-get that. Yeah, we can't. You can't get that back. Like,
however,
to,
on the counterpoint,
let me finish my point though. Because you have the same exact feeling of this manufactured emotion later in the movie when she's like, "What I learned is that love is the answer to winning over evil." It's like, what? Since when is Wonder Woman give a shit about love? Like, Wonder Woman is like, no, her pride comes from her being a warrior and from her ancestry. Like, why does she love this guy all of a sudden? She just met him.
Exactly, but then again, think about this.
Why does she love him all of a sudden?
I submit this to you. Think about this. You have a highly educated woman, right? But with no real life skills other than training in battle. She meets a man who, leads her into this war, has some high morals, and is trying to do the right thing for humans. And, they become close. He teaches her some human things. They after that, and, we got to think, in essence, he popped her cherry. You know what I mean? She'd never done that before. What happens when you pop a woman's cherry back in the day? They fell in love with you. So it's believable that Wonder Woman would be all about what she would perceive as love from him, and then think that would be one of the most incredible feelings that you could have that could counteract the evil in the world. So think of it in the perspective how young and naive she is in that perspective. I get what you're saying, the Wonder Woman that as a warrior, but in that moment, all she knew was an island full of women, and she never knew that aspect of it.
Bullshit.
You know what I mean?
I call bullshit on that. To me, if I was a feminist, if I was a woman,
but the woman directed it.
A
woman directed it. So
it doesn't matter. Hold on.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. She has to get her life fulfillment and lesson learning from screwing a man. That's where she gets her sense of purpose from?
No. She didn't have to get that. She saw his sacrifice and everything. That's what she felt as love. Him giving her this watch that was deeply sentimental to him. That was her perspective. I get where you're coming from if we're looking at the Wonder Woman of lore, but keep in mind, this is us learning her first impacts on the battlefield. This is her first battle outside of one on the beach. You know what I mean? What else would she tie that feeling of love to besides her mom or the woman that died on the beach? You know what I mean?
Maybe from the fact that her powers finally manifested. That's her belief.
I kind of. Well, no, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Nate.
No, honestly, I thought the showing of her in full garb was well done. Because they established through they're trying to walk through those trenches. And Steve's just like, "Come on, Diana, let's go." And she's like, "No, we have to help these people." And he's like, "They've been here for a year. It's called no man's land. We can't." And then she's like, and it was to her, she was like, "Well, this is what I'm here for. Let me take off this cloak and climb up this ladder." The music's playing. I got pumped. And then the first thing she does is, stop a bullet with her little bangles. What did you call them?
I called them gleaves, but I feel like bangles sounds a little bit better for some reason. That way, yeah. Bangles, yes.
But, the way she looks at it, and she's like, "Oh, I can do this." And then she keeps going. And it was kind of a little cheesy with her running. I agree with that.
Okay. All right, at least you gave me that.
CGI, but, she starts off slow, and then she takes the shield, and then she,
handles
the other
business.
Guys get all inspired. Yeah, they're like, "All right, let's do this."
I'll say the tone of the theater that I was in, the average audience reflected it. But BK, you got to understand, you're ridiculously technical. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The average person enjoyed that scene and understood what it was for what it was. Her standing up, be like, "Oh, it's no man's land for a year. I believe I can do this." Stands up, boom. You're right, Nate. She blocked that bullet. Yeah, let me bring it on, guys. And then everybody else sees her doing it. Well, shit. All right, she can do it. Let's just give it our best. And she inspired them to make it across this field. It served its purpose. In that regard.
I think y'all are so on trying to sell me on it that y'all are not hearing what I'm saying. I agree with you.
I don't want to sell you on it. Your opinion's of your own. It's just
I know.
I feel like you're just viewing it from a technical aspect of it.
No. Just listen to me. I'm not. Let
me listen to you say the exact same thing again. Go ahead,
guys. All I'm trying to help you understand is what Nate agreed to. Is that one shot. I'm not talking about the whole scene. I'm talking about the one shot. The thing that I have a problem with in films is whenever I kind of get woken up from the film by something that's distracting, that's technically not so good, it kind of wakes you up from the film for a second, and it helps you remember, oh, damn, I'm not in this film right now. I'm watching it in the theater. That was something that was like, oh, it woke me up out of the movie for a split second. Just like Nate said. He said, oh, that was kind of cheesy. That one shot. I'm just saying if they had moved that shot to another part in the scene, it would have been perfect. It's just that one shot at that moment was a little too much too soon. We have to be in the same. We have to be in. We have to be in the same place that the guys in the trenches are. We have to feel like, what is she doing? Like, she can't do this. We have to have some sort of feeling like maybe she's not ready for this. But the moment she kind of comes out and they're like, yes, it's like, spoiler alert, she's about to kick everyone's ass right now. As opposed to later in the film when they're like, hey, jump up on top of the shield. We don't know what she's doing at that moment. And then she gets launched into the air. We're like, oh, crap. Like, they launched her into... So my point is that. It's like, give us the same tone that you gave us in every other fight scene except for
what
this
about...
one is the one where they
the Germans that saw her across the field. They saw this beautiful goddess coming out of the field, and that would be very confusing to them, and then they eventually start shooting it. You know what I mean? Like, I get, yes, let's feel what the boys in the trenches are, but then again, I'm okay with seeing the point of view from across the field, too. Be like, we've been raining down on these dudes for a year, and this thing comes out. What is this thing? Well, let's shoot at it. Pling! Uh-oh.
Yes, I agree. See, that's what I'm saying is what we should have saw is an over-the-shoulder shot from the opinion of one of the German guys. And we just see this woman walking across this vast field. We didn't even get to see the desolateness of that field yet. We need to see how wide this field is and how much of a Herculean task this is going to be that she's got to do so that we're even more impressed when she actually does it. So instead of seeing this like sunshine behind her back and like the sunset just right so that you can see her hair flow down, it's like, no, let's see it from the perspective of like,
I want to make sure her eyelashes and eyebrows are on point in that scene, BK. That's what's important.
Exactly. Exactly. That's my point. That's my point. That's all I'm trying to say. If you think about it, it's like, wait a minute, why are we romanticizing this moment? We need to see that she's about to get down to business.
All right, get it. Let's get on to the business, though. Right. Let's get on to the business.
I do have. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say I do have a few like nitpicks with the movie.
Go ahead, bro.
Can we save the nitpicks
maybe you
for
can
grouping?
Get no.
Or can we?
Go ahead.
Hold on. Already?
Yes,
all
because
right,
you keep trying to stop the nitpicks, so let's get to it. Let's do it
live. Let's do it live. Oh! Tell Flex to run it back and drop a bomb on it.
I thought, you know what I thought the CGI when I thought it was really bad were the when she uses the lasso in the fights.
Yes.
Had Doctor Strange not come out already, and they had a cooler looking lasso with much better fight scenes with it, then I probably would have thought this looked cooler. But sometimes it just seemed like the lasso would grow all of a sudden.
Yes, well, it can, I agree. And it does though. That's the thing. Like it does. That's just how it is. Kind of like any chain in an anime. BK, you get what I'm talking about on that.
All right.
But
that's just how her it's not like a finite 15-foot lasso. That's just come on. All right, let me get this straight, Nate. You're upset that the lasso grew, but you're okay.
No,
you're okay with the Herculean female born of clay and Zeus's spit is fine with you, but the fact that the lasso slightly extends and contracts, but it also compels.
Ares did say you weren't made of clay. He said you're the last child of Zeus. So I'm glad they embraced that whole clay origin, but they decided not to say like
not to run with it.
Really, yeah. I didn't like the final fight. I thought throughout the movie they had awesome sword fighting action scenes. Then you get like this weird little energy fight. The final fight, Ares looked cool. He looked like he does in the comics, although sometimes when they do the close-up and they'd show Professor Lupin with his mustache.
I didn't like the mustache in there under the badass armor. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Ares, where's your panel van? Where's your panel van, Ares?
So this is what you've been doing since Hogwarts,
Yes. I love the Hogwarts scene, too, getting on the train.
Again, that's my point. Is like he's getting to he's getting to what happened. The first 2/3 of this movie are freaking amazing. Okay, are just amazing. Are joy to watch. But little small things start to kind of creep in here and there, and it gives you a hint that like, okay, the thing that you normally see in a Zack Snyder film. Oh, get ready.
You're about
to see it in the end of this movie. It's about to happen. The romance gets so built up that the logic falls apart. For example, why does the guy shoot himself and blow up the plane. If you commandeer the plane, you can land the plane safely. Why do we blow everything up, and why do you have to die?
That way she could realize his
Diana
love and
feels
sacrifice for her
Yeah.
and realize her true power.
And
Exactly,
realize that
that's my
humans
point.
are worth saving.
They're worth saving!
That's my point. Like, we had to do all that just so she could get that line. Maybe she could just do her job because she was raised to do it and she has the power imbued to do it. I mean, never mind the fact that we see her do some stuff that I've never seen Wonder Woman do, classically. But hey, you know, like that right there, that was her Neo moment. That was her Neo from the Matrix moment, and she ruined it. Imagine if Neo stopped
There's
the
no
bullets
other Neo.
and said, what if Neo in the Matrix stopped the bullets and say, I can do this because I love her? You'd be fucking pissed. You'd be like, what? That, like, he didn't need to say anything in that scene. He just needed to show you his powers, do the business, jump inside of an agent, and blow him up. Like, why do we have to have a woman sit down, and I say this on the behalf of women. I know that there's some women out there that are like, wait a minute, why can't she just own shit and save him in this situation? That would have been a much better ending. Like, why is it that, like, he has to die? He's going to die based on time anyway.
That does pose the question of, like, are they, you know, because in the comics,
yes, say
typically
it, Nate.
Wonder Woman's love interest is the descendant of Steve Trevor. Now that
He just dropped bombs. I had
Tell
to drop
Flex to
one
run
of
back,
Master
drop
Flex
bomb
bombs.
on it.
now that
That's
he's
what-
dead and they already established that, you know, he's never been married, never had children, he doesn't know what that's like. I guess maybe they're not going to do that in, you know, the sequel, not have his, I don't know, you know.
Exactly. It raises a lot of questions.
The biggest question is the fucking beginning and the fucking end. The email.
Exactly.
Does
That's
that
exactly
erase what happened in Batman vs. Superman? Like,
Talk about it, Nate.
the whole point of her being in Batman vs. Superman and trying to take Bruce Wayne's fucking, you know, whatever, was to get that picture. And he sends it to her later in Batman vs. Superman, and then she gets off the plane and fights Doomsday. Here, she's working in, you know, good old fucking Paris, gets the email
Yeah,
from him,
Paris.
you know, at the end, and she's like, oh, thanks for the memories. Like, what the fuck? Did he send
Thanks
it to
for
her
the
again?
memories.
You know, like...
Yeah. Well, that's what happens. Is it says that it says it in the little card at the very end, and it says it's either at the beginning or the end. And I remember it says on the card, I found the physical copy, or I found the actual
original
copy or something. Yeah, I found the original. Which, like again, this goes
That
back
was
to
in the
that
first.
scene where she jumps out and you see her in her full regalia for the first time. They're trying to reheat cold French fries. You can't reheat cold French fries.
And if she never went back to Themyscira after World War I, what the fuck has she been doing for a year? Like chilling at the Moulin Rouge?
Exactly.
You know, I have no fucking clue.
And the thing
Are
is-
we going to get a World War II movie? Are we going to get a Vietnam War movie?
Well, no, I mean
What the fuck has
that
she been doing?
that's what we gotta want, because you know this is after World War I, and then we're seeing her at the Louvre in present day, like after Batman v Superman. So we're looking at what, an 80-year span of she's just been a museum curator. Like I'm a little curious about that. You know what I mean?
Here's what would have been awesome. Here's what would have been
if I
awesome.
could circle-
is if he stayed alive. Hold on, let me just finish out
Do
this
your
point. I'll
thing.
give it to you. What would have been better, okay, is if he had stayed alive, it would have given her a reason to stay in the human world, and it would have set up as to why she's not super attracted to Bruce Wayne, because she's kind of already given herself to a man in the past, and she kind of had to do the Benjamin Button thing where he died, he got old, and we could have seen that in another film where she's kind of battling with staying in the real world and not having to hide out, with people saying, wait a minute, your husband's getting older, but you're not getting older. You know, like, they could have done something with that, and instead they went with this stupid-ass love sacrifice thing that we've seen 1,000 times before. So, you know, that's, again, that goes back to what Nate was saying, is like there's some things that kind of fall apart in that third act. Some of the wider shots of the CGI are not as great as the close-up tight shots are. And we kind of get God-modded Wonder Woman a little bit, that they kind of went overboard a little bit with her power at the end there.
I would have liked it better if, well, I mean, no, I shouldn't say that because I did really enjoy the movie, but it would have made more sense to me.
As did I, yeah.
If the beginning email she got was the one from Batman versus Superman, and then you interject throughout the whole movie present day scenes of her getting on the plane, like, you know, fuck humanity. But she's reminiscing of all this, you know, these memories. And then at the end, she's like, fuck it. You know, and then you see her jump into...
Heading into war with Doomsday?
Not the fucking sky of Paris. You know, what the fuck is she doing?
It would have been really cool if the after credit scene, which they did not have, was that part where you hear her music going doom, 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 ba-da-da-da, and then she's joining with Batman and she joins with Batman and Superman there, and it stops. Like right there. And it would have made you say, oh, let me go back and watch Batman versus Superman again. It would have made you be like, oh, okay, I like that. Sorry, Derek. I know we kind of went. So go ahead with your part.
You're good. No, I wanted to. It's really just still about Act 3. I wanted to. Let's break down this scene technically. Let's put some logic on it and figure this out. So she gets there. We have the great, quote unquote, great reveal of who Ares was, which was kind of obvious in the movie if you were paying attention. You could kind of see that Ares was not who the movie was obviously pointing to, that they wanted to be Ares. And so here's the thing. They have a plane full of explosives and poison made by Scarface herself. And we have a timer on the bombs that we can't just stop right here, because if I blow it up, then it'll kill my 5 friends. So I have to go fly into space, fly up in the sky, and just blow up myself with. And somehow is going to give her the power to defeat Ares. Now, if we look at it technically with logical solutions, as you touched on already, BK, yes, he could have just simply grabbed a parachute, which we're at an airfield, so it's logical to think that there's a plethora of parachutes available. Set the throttle. Don't even have to get on the plane. The plane's taking off. Let me just throw a grenade in the plane and it blow up 100 feet away from us, and me just get back behind the God chick that's fighting the other God chick, because everybody else was fine after the God fight. We saw them all coming out the rubble, so everybody was okay after they fought on the runway, which they definitely stole that from Captain America Civil War. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and move past that. But I'm just saying, so he could have easily done that and been fine and gone off to her and had a nice dinner in Rome. And then our friends are good. We blown up the plane. She fights Ares, still defeats him. And then we have several other butterfly effect plot lines that we could have gone into that would have warranted a reason for her to still have an interest in humanity. Because as we all saw in Batman v Superman, that she had no interest in helping Bruce Wayne or even dealing with Superman at all. So there were a lot of things on there that going into it, I assumed that they would kind of drip market into us, be like, oh, okay, this makes more sense as to why she doesn't care about humanity, or anything like that. But I tried to break it down logically, and I didn't have any logic behind it. I'm like, hey, I didn't feel that he needed to die. And as you can tell, we're all of one mind on that. He didn't need to die. And, once she, realized that, she could be a real boy, thanks to, the true wishes, she just went ahead and got some lightning and shot it through Ares. And that was just that. Let me just upgrade to this lightning. Bop! Wop, wop. And that was just that.
I had to give you one on that one. That's a good point. You got some good points there. And see, the scene falls apart even before that. The scene starts to fall apart when she
stabs him and there's no blood dripping from her sword on the roof.
PG no.
There's just no blood in PG-13
I was okay
movies?
with that. No, that wasn't even, that one. I'll give them that one. Here's the thing: we got a guy who's huffing on like cosmic cocaine, and he apparently has some sort of power that's restored, and he dies, and we have no idea who the fuck this was supposed to be. So you mean Bane was alive back then, and he got killed so we'll never see Bane again? Who is this dude? Who is he huffing this cosmic glue? Exactly.
I was born in the darkness.
Smolded by it. He was over there getting head from Scarface out the side of her cheek.
Nate, you are our resident comic guy, okay?
Yeah.
Help us understand who this guy was supposed to be and what was going on there.
Was he?
I think he was just a red herring to make you think he was Ares.
So just a disposable character?
Yeah, he was completely made up as far as I know.
See,
When I saw her,
that Dr. Poison was a real comic character.
Of course.
She herself too, like, it would have been better if she was Ares than fucking Professor Lupin, you know?
I'm telling you, man.
And you could have explained the scar on her face as being the scar from Zeus.
See, there you go.
or
See?
something.
See? Hold on. Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Dr. Poison should have been Ares.
And where does the scar come from, Nate?
Zeus.
And that's how you give an explanation of what's going on.
The Player Way.
I'm telling you, man. Nate,
Yes, sir.
Nate,
All in
Nate,
all,
Nate,
though, we
there
all
you go.
did enjoy it. Nate dropped some hotness right there. That's definitely true.
Absolutely.
Like, she could have been
Absolutely.
Ares. It's a lot. How many people could have been Ares, BK? Who were you thinking? What would have been a good plot twist, BK? Who could have been Ares?
Well, actually, my wife Rachel, who is not a huge comic book movie fan by any stretch of the imagination, but based on the introduction of the character who was wearing the Fez hat, what's that guy's name? He was like the actor.
Yeah,
I
Of the
can't
group.
even remember his name.
Yeah, but that guy, they introduce him as an actor, and he knows all of these different languages, and you see him kind of trying to swindle people and kind of make them do something and convince him that he's a prince earlier in the film. She was like, it'd have been cool if he was the guy, like a guy on their own team. What I thought the guy that turned out to end up being Ares, it was stupid because he gave them the money to pull off the Ocean's 11 caper. I was like, wait a minute, you just helped them beat you. I don't even feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
At all.
Oh, and speaking of those fucking merry band of Steve Trevor's misfits, the Marksman?
Oh
The
my God.
Marksman that had pizza. I thought he was going to end up doing something cool, but he did absolutely
I
fucking
went over here and
nothing.
shot something and ended up singing in the ring with the piano. I got over here, I can't sing shoot anything, but I'm over there going to get drunk and sing on the piano. I feel better.
No, I got one better. I got
Guy
one
did
better.
too much heroin
I got one
and
better.
spotting, man.
Guys, I got one better. I got one better. Okay, where the fuck did we get an Indian from? Like a Native
We're
American
in
shows up-
Germany. We're in Germany and London and everywhere else. Why is a Native American over there? Did he take a steamboat to go over to Europe? But your land was already taken, dude.
no.
Like, it was already gone,
He
man.
had
What
that-
are you...
He had that one line.
It's
where
been
he was
gone.
like, oh, my land was taken from me. From who?
Like
From
150
him.
years ago. Like 150 years ago, dude. Like we've already had the Wild West. We've already built railroads and everything. We've already done everything. Why are you over in Europe still mad at Johnny Storm? You know, over here just, you know,
Again.
causing... Oh, well, yeah.
Again.
I'm just over here, you know, making money.
Again,
making
like
money.
the scene that falls apart with him is when they like are mysteriously like in like the wild west, and they're like sitting by a campfire and having s'mores. You're like, are they about to do a peace pipe smoking session? Are we in Colorado? Like, where
All
the
right.
hell did this come from?
You reminded me of something, BK. All right, guys. I can't believe we hadn't touched on this, but this was something that literally it put some corrosive acid down my spine. The whole sneaking in to the gala. We just forgot our ticket. Oh yeah, this isn't a highly militarized function. We're just gonna wave him on in. This guy has, he has a good German accent. He's not speaking German. He's not speaking the Dutch. He's just, he has a good German accent. Cool, send him in. And then they just walked in, stole a car, walked out, walked in. She had a sword. She had a sword too in her back. No one noticed the sword. And then we just walked back out. And then he's doing smoke signals 50 yards on the front lawn. Like, they don't see this stuff. And I'm just like, so this is just a terrible military function? We don't notice, these smoke signals. There's no buildings to obscure this view. There's clearly something going on out here, and we've just launched this. But, there's this group of cars. And where did that lady go that just got beat up and left in the woods? Wonder Woman just whooped her ass, stole her dress, and left her to die in the woods. And what the driver didn't notice that she left and got out the car either? Like, just...
The 1910s.
Yeah,
telling
no one had suspicions in the 1910s of.
No, it was a different time.
I'm just getting out of the car and walking into the woods. Pop,
It was
pop,
a
pop.
different time.
Steals dress, leaves naked white lady in the woods.
And yet
what should happen
that should have been the after credit scene. It's like where
Her waking
what
up.
happened to her?
What happened to that boy?
Man,
No, you could have. The guy in the fez could have found the naked white lady.
I'm telling you. But yeah, I mean, but like I said, like these. So here's because we do need to shut this conversation down at some point. So my point is that is my point in all of this is that this was a great first film. And when you're trying to balance one character, when you're trying to show us one character at a time, that's easy to do. You can do that if you focus on a single character. Most of the DC films fall apart because of all of the other characters you have to balance. Usually there's one or two characters that we like. We always liked Gal Gadot's performance in Batman vs. Superman. It was everybody else we had a problem with. And so my point in this is what starts to fall apart with this film is when they have to resolve things with all of the rest of the characters, and everything kind of gets trashed for like some sort of romantic idea of what a hero is supposed to be. What do you guys think about that?
My silence indicates that I agree.
Yeah. Well, I kind of missed what you said there. It cut off a little bit.
That's fine.
Just say
that's
you were
fine.
daydreaming about Gal Gadot.
We
Just
can
admit
pick
it.
up. No, okay. So what I was saying is that where DC's got to be careful in moving forward is these types of things that we're talking about is what adds up to being a terrible third act. And when you have a terrible third act continuously in films, you're gonna have a bad time when it comes time to get people to replay this, to get the franchise to live on beyond just this one film. This movie was great for just this film. Does this film make you want to see other films? I make an argument that no, it doesn't.
I think it does a good enough job to where I want to see a Wonder Woman 2. I certainly hope they sort of stray away from, the mythical energy fights of third acts that DC tends to do with Doomsday, Enchantress. These fights that, I don't know, it kind of ruins the movie for me.
Like here's my point. All right, let me say it better because maybe I'll take an L on that. Maybe this is my fault. My point is, where is the universe aspect? Who else is in this universe? This film played very much like the first Iron Man when he didn't really have to show you that the Hulk was around and that these other people were around. There's no mention of Krypton. There's no mention of the Wayne family other than you seeing like a van with the Wayne logo on the side and a note from. Like, why don't we have? Where's Batfleck at? Why can't we see Batman? What's going on? Like, my point is, where is the sauce? What makes us want to go on to see a whole universe? And if nothing more, give us an after credit scene.
Yeah, that's and that goes back to what I said. Like, I wish they had interjected it with scenes of Batman versus Superman, or started out with her and Bruce Wayne just having a conversation of like, well, why'd you disappear for 100 years? Explain this picture to me. And she's like, well, let me tell you a story. Something like that. Anything.
Or like some point when Doomsday knocks her down and she, hits her head or something like that. She thinks back to like a training thing, or when Ares knocked her down in an airfield. You know what I mean? Like that fight was very reminiscent of that fight. It would have made. Yeah, they could have peppered it in more and taken those weaknesses that Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Suicide Squad had, and then peppered it in just to bring it together, because we have Justice League coming out in November, and that's introducing Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg, to like characters that they haven't even talked about for more than a grand total of 7 minutes in all these movies. And I say 7 minutes is more, like just 4.5 minutes.
More like 30 seconds.
Yeah, but and that's all we know. And they're
TV video clips.
Exactly, and they're adding these characters in November's movie, and Wonder Woman just told us, in essence, it was like, hey, I'm sitting at the Louvre, I popped open a suitcase, I remember this story about when I lost my virginity and became a Wonder Woman, and then I jumped over the city. Remember that, guys? It was a cool story. All right.
Actually, I think this raises probably the biggest problem with DCEU is they don't have some sort of cohesive vision like the MCU did when it first started out. You know, It's almost like they hired all these different people, and they're like, well, I want to do this. And Zack Snyder's like, well, we're doing this. But no, this is much better. There was no one guy saying, hey, this is the overall plan. These are the beats we need to hit. You know, this will pay off in the end.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. I can definitely tell that they're running a lot of audibles based on what other
fans.
Based on what? No, more so based on their competition. Like, what does our competition do? You can see beats in this film from other films that do it better.
This is almost like they tried to take Captain America: First Avenger and the first Thor, and create a Wonder Woman movie.
Exactly. At least Marvel has like the wherewithal to be like, all right, any movie that isn't as strong, then they just take their best elements from said movie. Like The Incredible Hulk back in 2008. Like, we all agreed that the Hulk doesn't need a movie by himself. He's perfectly being peppered in, or flashback scenes. So Marvel realized that, peppered him in where he needs to be, and he hasn't even been in the last, even featured. So same thing, like DC doesn't need to take the path of everything that MCU is doing, but those type of things, They could take their mistakes and either make light of them or just use them where they can make it better. Because since you've already done it, it's already out there. You can't change Batman versus Superman. It is what it is. And you can't change the fact that you're still rushing to come out with Justice League 5 months from now. 5 months from now, in the same month that Thor is going to be sandwiched right in front of Star Wars. I mean, I'm excited to still see Justice League, and this movie was still very good. I don't want to, the listeners take my criticism as I didn't like it, but they still have so much to do before Justice League. You know what I mean? And Cyborg's not supposed to have a movie till 2020. I just don't get it.
Cyborg don't need his own movie.
He doesn't need his own movie. I don't even know why they're talking about it, and neither does the Flash. The Flash doesn't need his own movie either. That's why they can't even.
I think all y'all's points are very, very valid, and what Derek is trying to get across to the listeners is we're not trying to have a hate session. We're not trying to have a meeting of the player haters ball 2020.
Bombed out and depleted.
Like my point is, like, you got to think about it from a perspective
the bigger picture.
How far. Yeah, I mean, you're in a market that is its own no man's land. Was Wonder Woman the movie that could take it across no man's land against its competition? And the answer is no. It's a nice thought, but not quite yet. You could have introduced mother boxes as the source of Ares building his strength back up.
Ooh.
You could have put in the story of how when Diana is talking about how how is it that you know what men look like if you live on an
island full of women.
On an island full of women. Well, we do, while we do not allow men on our sand, we have the descendants of Poseidon. We do consort with them, and they are males. You know what I'm saying? What about the trident of Poseidon? He is a god. Yeah. They are descendants of Poseidon. Yeah. Like, why is
Atlantis?
You see what I'm saying? There's so much that could have been done to give you a feeling like, oh, crap, this is a part of the whole universe. And those little things, including an after-credit scene, would have sold us and said, yes, we're ready to go.
I present a question that I'm just slightly curious about.
9 inches.
All right, cool. Wow, nice. Nice. And that's
all
flaccid,
right.
huh? All right, most impressive.
All
right. Now, for how, Themyscira has existed in this bubble for X amount of years, and then, Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m., here comes a plane, and there are 19 other ships just rowing into this dome. First I was like, oh, so now finally someone just happened to sail across where this thing was. I don't know if maybe it's because her powers were growing and maybe weakened it or whatever, but shifting more toward Ares, who was a god, and by definition in this type of universe, gods can do just about anything. Am I on par so far, boys? Like, gods are pretty much, they're gods. Ares could have simply if he can teleport pretty much and whisper into people's ears, he didn't have time to just fly around the planet and easily find this place. I mean, he's been alive for how long? He could have easily found this place, no?
No, no. Well, I mean, yes and no, but no, I mean...
No, I'm curious, like, yes and no how? Like, if a random plane just fell into the ocean here, Ares can fly around. If he could circumnavigate the Earth, how fast and how...
Yeah, because you're talking a time period of, what, like 1,000 years has passed since the Greeks...
At least, like, a long enough time. Yeah. It hadn't been 3 days since Zeus popped him.
And all this motherfucker was doing was drinking tea and eating crumpets.
Well,
exactly.
Again, it goes back. I mean, essentially, what y'all are saying.
I am the god of war. Where is my Earl Grey? Where is my Earl Grey?
I mean, essentially, what y'all are saying is the same thing that I was saying in that third act falls apart. The reason why we believe that he has not found it up till now is because they keep saying that he's so injured that his powers have not been able to sustain his ability to invade and come back. So when the red herring is the guy and you see him sniffing on this stuff to get his powers back, we believe that's the reason why. He's only had this small measure of power. But then at the very end, when it's obviously somebody else and then he can teleport and he can do all these other things, then it doesn't make any sense as to why he allowed Diana, who he said, I almost killed you when I first saw you. Why? Why didn't you just kill her when you saw her? Like, that makes no sense. You could have stabbed her in the back and she wouldn't even have known you were there. So it doesn't
and wiped out the whole island too.
It does not add up.
Just give a reason as to why he couldn't see things here.
Exactly.
Just anything.
Like a simple, since your powers have just now manifested, now I'm able to sense them. Until then, there was no, like, Zeus cursed it to... Any fluff would have been better than, all right, well, your phenomenal cosmic power, itty-bitty living space with a cane and crumpets.
It could have even been something like Thor losing his hammer, he lost his power. That sword could have been Ares' sword.
Yes.
And, at the third act, he gets it back, thus getting his power.
Yes.
Oh, my God, Nate. Oh, my God, Nate.
You are watching a master at work.
I mean, I got to drop one of the bombs for you right now. I'm telling you, man, it's so serious right now.
Chris Pine in the plane right there.
There's smoke. That was a big bomb.
I'm telling you. Anyway, I said like almost 10 minutes ago that we were gonna shut this down, but long story short, let's go.
Hey, you know how long it takes to shut down Windows? Come on, the thing just popped up on my screen, said it's now safe to turn off my computer, so now I can turn it off.
I was
man.
installing updates. Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
shut off your computer.
Don't you do it. Your Oregon Trail might not have saved.
All right, so let's go around and let's start with Derek. So, long story short, what's your grade on the film? What do you want people to know about this and help them understand how to go and watch this movie, The Player Away?
They thing is, as we did before on grading The Player Away, I mean, you need to go see it. It needs to be seen. If you're a movie fan, if you're a movie fan, you need to go see it because this is going to at least give you some pleasure cinematically. I mean, the acting's good, the musical score is great, the action scenes are captivating. There were several times where I just definitely got up on the edge of my seat. So you need to at least see it. This is the first big movie of the summer, and I saw Pirates of the Caribbean last weekend, so that's making a statement.
Guardians?
Did you forget about Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, of the summer. Guardians came out in the spring, so technically this is the first big movie of the summer. Since summertime is May 21st, and Guardians came out May 2nd, which is a few days before it. So Guardians was the biggest movie of the spring, hands down, no question.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching a master at work at spinning yarn.
Yeah.
Rumpelstiltskin.
All right, Nate, what do your takeaway?
Yeah, I don't want people to mistake my criticisms for me not liking the movie. I did really enjoy the movie. The third act had its problems, which a lot of these comic book movies tend to have. But It's definitely the best. It's definitely the best DCEU movie that we've gotten. Actually, I enjoyed Man of Steel. I would put this right under Wonder Woman. You know,
good answer.
No
I thought you.
I do have a question for Nate. I got a question for Nate.
I told you 9 inches.
All right, man, I know, but Pixar didn't happen. I did this when I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My expectations were right above, they were very low. So when I saw it and it was slightly better than what I thought, like I probably inflated my opinion about it. Now, earlier when you said that you went and see this, you said your expectations were low for good reason due to the, history of the DCEU. So was this a good movie because period it was a good movie, or also in conjunction with your low expectations and this being better than what you thought it would be, does that make it better? Or like if your expectations were mid to low grade, you know what, you see what I mean? How does this really compare?
Yeah, I think it's both. It ended up being a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
And that since my expectations were low, I was pleasantly surprised by it. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
both.
All right.
What about you, BK?
And
what's your player way?
What I want people to take away from this is, as my cohorts, my co-captains have alluded to, definitely don't take our conversation to be that we are pooping all over this franchise. We think that we all believe that this movie is good. Here's what you're hearing in this situation. Everybody going into this film, even you listening, had low expectations of what was going to happen here, and we wanted something that was just salvageable. To a certain extent, we were even prepared for a Zeppelin to be falling out of the sky flaming. So for us to actually get a film, we're like, okay, so DC can
Hydrogen
compete.
is very
So we're
flammable.
ready for DC to start competing. It's a great film. We applaud it, and everyone should go see it just for the sake of it. But let's call this what it is. This is a war, and small victories here and there, just like when Wonder Woman saves that village, don't count if somebody's going to come out and gas the whole fucking city that you just saved. So here's the problem with DC. We're expecting the other shoe to drop at some point, and they have to prove us wrong. Their chance to prove us wrong was doing an after-credit scene that helped plug us and say, this is why you should care about this movie coming out in the fall. What they left us with was nothing, and there is no buzz for this Justice League film. This film changed nothing. Okay? That's the problem we have.
I didn't have the button to hit the bomb, so I just had to do that.
Oh, we can put it in editing, but that's my point. Is this movie is great. If you want to really have fun this weekend, the player way, then you got to go see this movie. But in terms of DC, hey, y'all got some work to do, and y'all proved to us now that you can do it. You gave us a taste of blood. Now we want blood. We hungry.
I mean, even if it is
My
9
dogs-
years after
my
Marvel started
dogs-
this.
That was Dark Knight.
How about we cut you up into little pieces and feed you to your pooches, and we'll see how loyal a hungry dog is.
True, absolutely. All right, man. I was going to talk about Tekken 7, but I think we got enough material going on this weekend. I think everybody listening is ready for us to put a... We have beat a dead horse. We have smothered it in gravy. And
With the
we've
dead
eaten
chicken.
It, absolutely. So, man, shout out to my co-captains, Derek.
I'm repairing the system in case it gets corrupted again. I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know what to do with my systems anymore. Just shut it down.
And Nate.
Just, rickets has reached Asia, by the way, so it's far
Day
worse than
21.
people have originally
Day 21.
thought. Yeah.
Man, I saw something this week, and it was talking about somebody got rickets. I can't even remember what it was, but there was some movie or documentary recently, and it was talking about a rickets outbreak somewhere.
I'm
What's
telling
actually
you, it's an outbreak. It's a problem.
The government's covering it up.
Absolutely.
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
They getting everybody out
No,
here.
that's the problem. They are hiding their kids. They're hiding too much.
Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, thank you so much for joining us again this week. This was amazing, man. This was I mean, if you were listening out for us to have a thorough discussion on Wonder Woman, I mean, this is what you got. I mean, you got that. You got your money's worth and then some. So thank you so much for coming back, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Player Way podcast, recorded in a single take from Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, by Nathan Peterson, Derek Lewis, and BK Jackson. Our opening theme is titled Bound by Ricky Remedy, courtesy of Elysian Records, and our closing theme is titled Coconut King Diaries by Xander, spelled Zahnder. You can find this music by both Ricky Remedy and Xander, and many more tracks on SoundCloud. And remember, no matter what choices you make or paths you follow, just make sure you do it the player way. See you next week.